Joining us for our coach check-in, the 12-time Division III national champion and the now 33rd-year head coach of Salisbury men's lacrosse, the number one team in the nation, preseason 2021. It's Jim Berkman, everybody. Jim, thanks for joining us. We're glad to see you again.
Thanks, Will. Excited that the season's right around the corner.
I'm sure there's a buzz around the team, maybe multiplied a bit, both what you normally have in January, February, getting ready for a new season, and the extra buzz from getting the chance to perhaps finish the unfinished business from last year's 7-0 team that was looking to do some great things before the pandemic got in the way.
Well, obviously we have collectively a pretty good group of returning people, and people have chosen to come back to finish that uncharted territory that we didn't get to do last year, that have put a lot of a commitment on all levels, to come back and as fifth-year seniors or finish out their eligibility. So, I mean, those kids are anxious to go, and we're anxious to get started this Wednesday. We're just praying that we can salvage a schedule and that enough teams will commit to playing lacrosse, that there indeed will be an NCAA championship that will occur this spring.
Just to put a pin on 2020, I'm sure we're at the point now where any season that doesn't end in a national championship is somewhat of a disappointment. How are you able to work past both that from last year and the added intrigue of just not knowing how it would have ended and never knowing whether it was going to be another championship year or not?
I think it's just that our mindset here, Will, that number one, the glass is always half full, not half empty. And, obviously it was disappointment that we didn't get to finish that. But with every disappointment or setback, there's usually an opportunity, and the NCAA presented an opportunity to our seniors and to all our players. So it didn't matter if you were a freshman, whatever you were, you're cross Ferrari and a great player as a junior, man, you get to come back and replay your junior year this year, and you're going to get a chance, as a 23-year-old senior that, you're probably going to be a lot better to come back and seize the moment. So, it gave that group collectively, if they chose, a chance to come back, and, a credit to those guys with 10 seniors returning who are committed, and a bunch of underclassmen are committed to, coming back the next year to fulfill that. They've seized the moment. And hopefully, we're in a better spot now than we were a year ago as far as talent, experience, skill set, because of an extra year that, we could be even potentially, even a better team in 21 than we were when we finished up at 7-0 in 2020.
It's certainly the right approach to take heading into the new season. How did you and your team approach the fall prep season, knowing that there was almost certainly going to be some kind of a spring season in 21, but not exactly knowing the details?
Well, it was definitely a different fall with all the COVID rules and all the limitations and things you could do and not do. But again, an opportunity presented itself with the NCAA changing the rules in this COVID restricted season, which hopefully now it's actually proposed an opportunity here, that the new rules that they proposed, instead of 16 fall practices, was 114 days for the year. So we actually ended up with 25 or 26 fall practices and got to see our guys even more over the course of the fall, and didn't finish until December 5th when we would have finished with them on, October 22nd. So, we were actually able to practice and probably see our guys more than we ever have in the fall. And I think it was great on all levels. And, now there's a lot of conferences and different groups that are proposing to the NCAA to make that a permanent change. And if that came as a result of COVID, then that would be a great change and something positive that occurred in 20, looking, to the future that, that would be a great thing for all sports, to be able to be with their guys a little bit more and spend time with them more and develop them more over the course of the off season, which I think, players and coaches alike would love to have that opportunity.
That's certainly making lemonade out of the lemons you've been given, and this seems to be a running theme of a bunch of chats we've had with coaches at Salisbury University, recognizing the changes that have had to come from COVID and all these new regulations, and realizing that, hey, it's not all bad. Some of them we actually probably want to keep moving forward once we get post-pandemic.
Yeah, and hopefully that NCAA legislation that I think is going to get proposed in the very near future, because of COVID, will become a permanent change.
Mm-hmm. Looking forward to this 2021 schedule that we're about to enter. Can you take us through the process of finding teams to play against, putting a schedule together in the midst of all this uncertainty?
Well, as everybody has said over the course of last year, Will, we're in a fluid situation. And as I speak today, it could be different tomorrow. I'm on another conference call tomorrow with all our conference coaches who agreed to play each other twice instead of once to add some games to the schedule. That hopefully will be true tomorrow. We're waiting on a few other opponents for their conferences to actually make decisions about non-conference play, which they haven't done yet. We're waiting for the Gettysburg and Centennial to decide if they're even going to play at all. So, we're still waiting on several teams and what the direction that they're going to go. We were fortunate to pick up Randolph-Macon for an opening game on February 27th. We were fortunate to reschedule our Lynchburg game to March 6th. We're still waiting on Whittier, whether they're going to have a season and be able to travel to the East Coast, and whether that game's going to happen. We're waiting on Cabrini, maybe potentially Cabrini saying maybe if it works out, we might actually play them twice, because of an agreement to play out of conference and limit it to the teams they're playing. They're entertaining that. So, it's right now we got 13 games on the books. I hope we can pick up one or two more if we don't lose any. But right now we're just feel fortunate that it looks like we're going to have a season.
And when you do first hit the field in late February, you're returning a whole bunch of firepower, number one team in the preseason polls, and returning some fifth-year seniors you wouldn't have had we had a normal season last year. Are there any ones in particular that you're really, really excited to have back?
Well, I think, collectively, when we talk about all the seniors that came back, kind of a big class of 16, they pretty much all were All-American players, starting on attack. You had first-team All-American Josh Melton, who was an All-American 2 years ago, when we actually had All-American teams. And, you had Griffin Maroney, who was an All-American honorable mention, I believe, and Cross Ferrero, who was an honorable mention. So, the whole attack squad were All-Americans. You got the face-off player of the year in Brett Malampy. You got two-time All-American and Kevin Murphy at long stick, first-team All-American defenseman in Brad Abkar, two-time D-Midi All-American, and Bradley Bright. There's just a lot of talented guys that have come back at almost every position that, we're fortunate to be able to coach this year.
I imagine that would make it that much harder for a role player from last year's team to be able to crack the starting lineup or a regular rotation. Conversely, ones that are able to do that are that much better. That said, are there any role players from last year who you're keeping an eye on?
Well, I think that there's always opportunity for those guys if they work hard and are inspired and everything. And Ryan Brown, who would be a senior this year, who's committed to staying here for the next 2 years because he gained the eligibility, has really worked his butt off and really, really improved. He's our fourth attackman right now. And everybody's saying, what are you talking about, your fourth attackman? Because Ryan Brown's a hell of a player. If we were probably picking an MVP of our Maroon Gold game in the fall, it's Ryan Brown. He's pretty good. And he desire to be great. So if nothing else, if somebody goes down, as Coach Axel has mentioned several times, we're probably not going to miss a beat with Ryan Brown being in there. But I think that we definitely have an impact player. I think in John DeFazio, freshman, who's definitely worked his way into the long pole situation, and just got to find a way for him to get on the field, whether it's close or long pole, wing on the faceoffs, man down. He's just a very exciting and a very, very good player that is definitely going to be in the mix. And, Quentin Young was a freshman that had to sit out last year, so he's a freshman again. He's really, really improved. Jack Dowd, who was one of the kids that had an unfortunate situation at Furman when they dropped the program, who's joined us, that's running on the first midfield, who's 6'4", 6'5", 210 pounds, shoots it over 100 miles an hour both hands. Who's a handful. He's definitely going to be a new guy that you're going to hear a lot from. So there's a couple guys that are finding their way into that veteran group, for sure.
And then these freshmen and newcomers who are entering the program at a time when the traditional means of sort of onboarding them are not available, how well have they been able to integrate themselves into the Maroon and Gold family?
Well, Will, I think originally when we got to school in September that was very, very difficult. Because in most cases, all the things that we would normally do, the Big Brother program, the team lifts, just didn't exist. Some of the pickup stuff, they wouldn't even let it. They closed the fields down for 10 days. So there was a period where Coach Axel and myself had talked to it. We were really worried about our culture. We have such a great culture here, and they usually get cultivated in there in those first couple of weeks, and it just didn't happen. And you could just see especially the freshmen, they were kind of the outliers a little bit. But what I was very excited about as we moved through those extra practices in the fall, I think that we actually probably finished our fall time once Matt and I got back with their regular lifting schedules and we got the extra practices, that I thought at the end of the fall that we were probably in a similar place that we would normally have been as far as guys liking each other and supporting them and knowing each other and playing for each other and getting that band of brother type of mindset that has always been important here. I think we almost accomplished it. I'm not going to bet the bank on it right now, based on what happened in the fall. But in light of the circumstances, we finished it and feel a lot better than we did when we started the beginning of the semester.
Well, it's the juggernaut of Division III men's lacrosse for a reason, rolling with the punches and making great things out of difficult situations. Jim Berkman, head coach of Seagull men's lacrosse, thanks for joining us. We're really looking forward to seeing you back on the field again soon.
Will, thanks for having me.